Week 46. Day 316, on doing what you love. Every man loves what he is good at. Thomas Shadwell. If at first you don't fall in love with the process necessary to make your dream come true, don't despair. As long as you don't hate it, everything is fine. The love for the process comes along with consistent improvements. It's impossible, or at least unlikely, to eventually not fall in love with what you're becoming good at. For example, many entrepreneurs think that they need to do what they love in order for their business to succeed. In reality, what matters most is that their business fulfills a certain need or solves a certain problem. If I hire your company to clean my house, I don't care if you're passionate about it. All I care about is whether you can do it well, on time, and for a reasonable price. Initially, you might not love being in the cleaning business, but if your business starts doing well and you become good at running it, you'll probably enjoy doing it, and thanks to that, it will get even easier to grow it. The same applies to any other goal. Get started, make sure that you feel at least neutral about it, and be patient, because once you start getting better at it, the process will become addictive and you won't want to stop. Day 317, on thinking you're able. They are able because they think they are able. Virgil. It might be a trite reminder, but it's nonetheless frequently true. People often achieve impossible feats merely because they think they are able to do so. If you don't think that you are able, you either won't try at all, or if you try, it will be a half-hearted attempt that is almost guaranteed to fail. In rock climbing, I sometimes deliberately try routes or single moves well above my ability. I've found that sometimes the mere belief in your abilities can lead you to climbing a difficult route that, without such a belief, would result in a spectacular failure. In business, the companies that grow the fastest are led by entrepreneurs who don't set any limits for themselves. If they decide to sell their services to a Fortune 500 company, they'll start figuring out how to do it instead of wasting time pondering whether they're able to do so. In sports, it's often not the training in itself that makes an athlete successful. It's what they tell themselves during the competition that makes the difference between winning or losing. The next time you face a big, seemingly insurmountable challenge or find yourself in a situation with a low chance of emerging victoriously, assume that you're able to overcome it, and then act as if it were true. Life isn't a fairy tale, so it won't always work. However, if you assume that you aren't able, and that will manifest in your hesitant actions, you'll be always doing yourself a disservice. Day 318, on the inconvenience of change. Change is not made without inconvenience, even from worse to better. Richard Hooker. If you want to remodel your house, you expect and accept the inconveniences it will cause. There's no way to replace the old windows, tiles, doors, or kitchen cabinets without making a mess. Repainting your bedroom means that you have to move furniture to another room. Giving your bathroom a makeover means that you'll have to use a different bathroom or go to a friend's house to take a shower. You accept the disturbance that remodeling causes in your life because you want your house to be nice and cozy. Likewise, if you want to change something in your life, in order for the old to go, there also must be some mess involved in the process of replacing it with the new. You might feel cranky upon waking up earlier than usual. You might be exhausted after the first several workouts. You might despair while you are trying to figure out how to learn a new skill. Whenever you feel this way and feel tempted to give up, frustrated by how inconvenient the process of change is for you, remember that to go from worse to better, some minor, and sometimes major, annoyances are par for the course. Get over it and get on with your life. Day 319, on learning from refusal. One never knows a man till he has refused him something, and studied the effect of the refusal. One never knows himself till he has denied himself. The altar of sacrifice is the touchstone of character. Warren Philip Guilford. Let's be clear, denying yourself nice things is neither easy nor fun. However, in addition to the incredible benefits it brings in the form of increased self-control, it's also a powerful test of your character and a self-discovery tool. For one, self-refusal provides an opportunity to understand what you need in your life and what you only think you need in your life. Unless you stay away from what you consider your necessities for a period of time, you won't know whether they're really necessities, after all. For example, on many of my adventures, I had to sleep in less than comfortable circumstances, such as in a car parked by the road or in a soaking wet tent with homeless dogs fighting outside. I had always thought that I wouldn't be able to recharge in such circumstances, but often I was actually more recharged after several hours of such uncomfortable sleep than in my own bed. What I considered a necessity was in fact a luxury. This realization made me a stronger person. I expanded my comfort zone and now I know I can handle sleeping in a wide variety of weird places. Second, refusing yourself pleasant things can show you the depth of your addiction for them. For example, I used to eat a few pieces of dark chocolate daily. I assumed it wasn't a big deal and I thought I could stop eating it whenever I wanted to. However, when I decided to take a break from eating all kinds of sweets, I felt immense cravings. Denying myself a few pieces of dark chocolate, an innocent pleasure, made me realize that I had been addicted to it. Finally, while we were young, it was our parents or other caretakers who told us we couldn't get something. We fumed and protested, but there was nothing we could do about it. This way, unbeknownst to ourselves, we learned that we couldn't always get everything we wanted, and I dare say it was one of the most powerful lessons in self-discipline a child could receive. Today, as adults, most of us don't have such gatekeepers. If you want to eat chocolate, you can go to the store and buy it. Nobody will force you to eat broccoli instead. If you want to spend the entire Sunday in bed, nobody will kick you out of it and force you to go out and play with other kids. This freedom feels good, but there's also danger in it. By spoiling ourselves this way, we eventually do ourselves the same disservice as parents who spoil their children. Self-refusal, in essence, can act as an emergency brake, stopping us from spiraling into overindulgence. Day 320, on change as a cold bath. A great change in life is like a cold bath in winter, we all hesitate at the first plunge. Letitia Elizabeth Landon. Hesitation is normal when you face a big change in life. After all, you're facing the unknown, and what's unknown is scary. In the end, though, the longer you stare into the abyss, the more frightening it appears, and the more difficult it is to jump into it. For this reason, it might be useful to think of a great change as being similar to taking a cold bath. The less time you give yourself to worry about how cold it might be, the more likely you are to actually jump into it. For example, instead of wondering how tiring and uncomfortable it will be to go running, just put on your sports shoes and get out of the house. The more time you spend meditating on how unpleasant it might possibly be, the more likely it is that hesitation will kill any remnants of willpower you still have inside of you. When decluttering your house, the same strategy can help you resist the temptation to keep things out of sentiment. Some old items are indeed so valuable that it might be worth it to keep them, but more often than not, people who tend to accumulate things use this rationalization for every piece of junk. Give yourself 3 seconds. During those 3 seconds, if you can't come up with any powerful memory that the item gives you, throw it away. If you need to make a difficult phone call or have an uncomfortable conversation, hesitation will make it even scarier. By taking the plunge as quickly as possible, you'll prevent your anxiety from growing and probably resolve the situation more effectively than if you were to wait. Day 321, on being the creator of your circumstances. Man is not the creature of circumstances, circumstances are the creatures of men. Benjamin Disraeli. It would be nice to blame our circumstances for everything bad that happens in our lives. Finally, there would be something else that is responsible for our deficiencies, inaction, lack of willpower, etc. Unfortunately, or rather, fortunately, we're the creators of the circumstances in which we find ourselves today. While you can't change where you were born, you can change where you live. While you can't change who your parents were, you can choose your teachers and mentors. While you can't change whether you were born blind, deaf, mute, or with a different physical disability, you can change how you think about it. So many people accept their circumstances for what they are, instead of acknowledging that they always have some control over them, even if it's just the ability to change how you think about them. If you don't like something about your circumstances, you can change them, accept them, or find power in them. If you don't like where you live, you can move to a different place. If for some reason you can't do that, you can accept where you live and focus on other aspects of your life there. You can also find power in your environment and discover the hidden benefits of where you live. For example, a small town might not be great for job prospects, but your costs of living are lower. Don't make yourself a victim by believing that you're a creature of circumstances, or you might as well give up any hope for a better future. Day 322, on Subtraction. We survive on too little sleep, wolf down fast foods on the run, fuel up with coffee and cool down with alcohol and sleeping pills. Faced with relentless demands at work, we become short-tempered and easily distracted. We return home from long days at work feeling exhausted and often experience our families not as a source of joy and renewal, but as one more demand in an already overburdened life. Jim Lohr. It makes me exhausted just to read this quote, let alone imagine that it's possible to achieve any kind of positive results while living such a life. If you're overburdened and feel like you have no control over your life, it's time to change your life philosophy from the philosophy of addition to the philosophy of subtraction. Let me explain. The philosophy of addition is thinking that more is better. It means that you're afraid to miss out on opportunities and that you say yes to everything, worried that saying no will make you unpopular or that you'll appear selfish or lazy. You constantly add, thinking that it's through adding that your life gets better. Of course, in a certain way it does. The more you learn, the better you are. Generally speaking, the more money you have, the easier your life is. However, this doesn't apply to obligations in your calendar. The more tasks you have in your schedule and the more duties you need to attend to, the more difficult it is to stop, reflect, and decide what deserves your attention and what doesn't. For this reason, I suggest adopting the philosophy of subtraction. You believe that less is more. You think twice before you accept any new responsibilities. You constantly seek to simplify your life and free up your calendar instead of stacking one task on top of another. You feel proud of having leisure time instead of feeling guilty about it. As an exercise for today, think of just one regular task in your schedule that you could eliminate, in order to make your life less of a burden. Perhaps you can hire a maid to save time spent keeping the house clean. Maybe you already have enough money, but not enough time, and it would make sense to reduce the number of hours spent at work and accept the trade-off for the sake of your well-being. Maybe you can move closer to your workplace, or the opposite, start working at home. Perhaps it would be a good investment to use the services of a home meal delivery company and save the time spent on cooking and grocery shopping. Subtract the unessential from your life to increase your focus on what is essential, but doesn't get enough attention because of all the other, less important obligations.